Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz. What's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show? What's Indy's Trusted Servant? Well, that's me, Danny O'Malia. I'm Indy's Trusted Servant. I do customer service training and keynote speaking to organizations, and it's all about the culture of the organization. Why are Chick-fil-A and Nordstrom, and up till recently Southwest Airways, better than the other people in their industries? Well, they had great cultures and they kept them as they grew, which is very hard to do. I learned all of that from the hand of the master, my late father, Joe O'Malia, back in the O'Malia Food Market days. And even before that, when I was 9 and 10 years old, and he had a little grocery store in Broad Ripple where the Vanguard bar is today. Had one cash register and about 6 employees, and one of them was a 9, 10-year-old kid. He lost that store. He came back 10 years later and successfully launched O'Malia Food Markets in 1966. And one of the things I learned from Joe was never, ever, ever give up. At any rate, that's me, Indy's Trusted Servant. And if you'd like to talk to me about my customer service keynoting or my customer service training, give me a call at 317-413-9062. What's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz? I like to describe it as lively local small biz and community talk where you can feel the pulse of Indy. And my guest today is somebody I've had back in the radio show days. He used to have me on his radio show back in the day, and he's the first repeat on InspireSmall.biz that I've had, and it's my friend Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, who has recently announced he's going to run for the mayor of Indianapolis. So welcome to the show, Abdul.
Hey, Danny, always good to be here, old friend.
Good to see you. It's been too long. Tell the folks about Abdul, your background, how you came to be doing what you're doing, the indypolitics.org and all of that stuff.
Well, I'm not originally from Indiana. This is technically my second tour of duty here. Grew up in Illinois, grew up in Chicago, the Chicago area. Went to college in the suburbs, lived in Europe for 4 years as my dad was retired military, but went back for a few years. We lived in Europe when there were still 2 Germanys. Just give you an idea to carbon date ourselves.
But before Mr. Gorbachev turned down the wall?
It was actually during all that.
During all of that.
1986 to 1990.
Okay.
So we got to see the whole...
That was 89, right?
Yeah, 89, 90 when the whole thing came down.
Yep.
Came back here, finished up college at Northern Illinois University, got my undergraduate degree in television and radio because I wanted to be a...
You're a Husky.
Yes.
Yes.
To be a reporter.
Okay.
Went to work in Bloomington, Illinois for a while, literally 140 miles right up I-74 from point A to point B. Did that for about a year and a half, then went to the University of Illinois for graduate school. Did my master's in public affairs reporting because I love covering government and politics.
You were into this politics thing all along.
It's like 92.
You were in Chicago. What choice did you have?
Which is also partially true. After doing that, I left reporting for a while to become a spokesperson for the Illinois Attorney General, a guy named Jim Ryan.
And he's the one guy that didn't end up in jail.
Yes.
Right?
It was the other governor last name Ryan. He went to prison for a while.
Yeah.
Then my boss ran for governor in 2002. He ran. We lost. And so what happens when you lose in politics? You lose your job. That's just the nature of business. Nobody sues to stay around or stick around. Like, no, you lost.
You're done.
You go. And so while working for the Attorney General, I went to law school at St. Louis University.
Oh, where Larry went to school, yeah.
Went to school. I got my law degree there in 3.5 years. And literally I went part-time. So I had to drive from Springfield, Illinois to St. Louis University 4 nights a week for 3.5 years.
That's 150 miles?
That's 100 miles one way.
One way, yeah.
105 miles if you count the time from door.
And you did that how many days a week?
4 days a week for 3.5 years.
Oof.
Including the summertime.
Thank God gas wasn't what it is today, right?
No, I went from 99 to like 2002, so it was right around 9/11, so we had the gas surges and all that kind of taking place.
Yep.
Then after I got my law degree, I went back to being a full-time radio talk show host. But interesting story, when I took the bar exam, and just so folks know, the bar exam is like medical boards. You got to take the bar exam to get your law license, and so I did it, and when I got my results back, they told me I missed by 5 points. Now, here's why that's important. Because when you miss by 4 points less on the Illinois bar exam, you get an automatic regrade. But they told me I missed by 5. So I was like, okay, am I going to fight this? What's going on? So about 30 days after we got the bar exam results, we found out in the Chicago Tribune there was a mistake in the grading. And
Not surprising.
No, not surprising. I got thousands of people taking this test a couple times a year. And so it was on the what's called the multi-state part, which is the part that everybody takes across the country. And so because I missed it by 5 points instead of 4, I wasn't entitled to an automatic regrade because that was the rule in Illinois. Until they found out that, hey, there's a mistake on our part, because an answer was marked B, but the right answer was C. And so what ends up happening is the Illinois Supreme Court says, okay, for one time and one time only, we're going to say for this exam, if anybody missed by, we're going to throw that question out. So we'll give everybody 1 extra point. That would be the fair thing.
Whoa, is that right?
And Illinois didn't have to do it because every state was on their own. So in Ohio, people had already been sworn in, got their law licenses, but the Ohio Supreme Court said, sorry, now you're not a lawyer. You got to go back and retake the exam.
Holy moly.
It's just a mess across the country. And I was ready to go to St. Clair County in Illinois, which is southwestern Illinois, to go sue. Like, I'm an American, gosh, I'm going to sue till it's my God-given right to, I'm going to sue till I get the result that I'm looking for. But that day, I got a phone call from the Illinois Board of Bar Examiners, because I sent a request like, hey, I want my exam grade, I don't trust you people, blah, blah, blah. So the phone rings like, hi, I said, Abdul, in the Attorney General's office, can I help you? Like, hey, Abdul, this is Mary from the Illinois Board of Bar Examiners. Like, hi, Mary, how's it going? They're about to tell me to go pound sand. I'm on my own. I just want to let you know that we got your request for regrade, yeah, and you passed. I was like, what? Well, actually, I said a couple other things, and I apologize for using foul language at 11:30 in the morning, but I was like totally shocked and surprised. It's like, nope, you passed. You can call me back in an hour or 10 minutes. I'll tell you the same thing. You passed the bar exam. We'll send you all the results in the email in a couple days. And it turns out that the question I had missed, I actually got right on the multi-state part, which kicked in the automatic regrade. And then when we were grading my whole exam, like, hey, this guy actually did pass the test. So imagine.
Even by the old standards, you passed the test. Okay.
So it was like basically you're a quarterback, you're on your 1 yard line, and you can throw a Hail Mary, but the sun's in your face, but you throw the ball the wrong way, and your guy runs it all the way back and gets a touchdown. So and so I have 2 letters from the Illinois Board of Bar Examiners, one saying I passed, one saying I failed.
You kept those letters.
Yeah, which says sometimes things are never as first as they appear to be. That was always taught.
And that's correct. So you passed the Illinois bar in what year was it?
That was 2003.
Now, were you here in Indianapolis yet?
Not yet. I didn't come here in Indianapolis until Labor Day 2004.
And you came to do the radio show more than anything else, right?
Yeah, WXNT Radio.
Right. And that's where we first met,
Yep.
right? I listened to the show on 1430, which I don't think is on the air anymore, is it?
It's on the air. It's like a sports talk.
Okay, it's a different.
Yeah.
So I listened to the show, and I believe that you had the cocktails and conversation.
Yeah.
They had a thing once was it a quarter, once a
month,
monthly meet and greet at some place. This one was at the Columbia Club. I said, well, I'm going to go to that, and I'm going to meet this Abdul guy, and I did. And you invited me to be a guest on your show, and then you later invited me to substitute host when you were off in Illinois doing your legal thing because you only had an Illinois law. Now do you have an Indiana law license now?
Had an Indiana law license for the past 5 years.
That's what I thought. Okay, so that's how we got together, and we've traded off shows ever since. Yeah. So now, of course, the big thing with Abdul, and I had you coming on the show, scheduled to come on the show before you made the announcement, but you're running for mayor of Indianapolis.
Yes. After 20 years of being here, it's like, maybe it's time to stop talking about stuff, maybe start doing.
So are you running as an independent or a Republican?
Running as a Republican.
You're running as a
Yeah,
Republican.
but at the end of the way, though, there's really no Republican or Democratic way to run a city. Either you know what you're doing or you don't. And there's some things you do around the edges, like tax policy and maybe some economic incentives. But otherwise, I mean, either you know how to put criminals behind bars, you know how to fix potholes, or you don't.
Well, I want to come back to that, but tell the folks what else you're doing. I know indypolitics.org. No, tell the folks about that.
I do indypolitics.org. It's my political website where it's basically political for Indianapolis, for the state of Indiana. We write about political issues. Been doing that for like almost 12 years now. I'm also an attorney. I also teach at the University of Indianapolis and Ivy Tech.
Still doing both of those.
Still doing both of those.
Those are legal kind of classes.
I teach business law for the University of Indianapolis. I also teach media, speech, political science, so all that That's sort of, I'm like the
Okay.
ultimate utility player.
Yeah, okay.
Let's put it-
Jack of all trades,
Okay,
master of none.
master
Yes,
well,
yes.
master of politics. Master-
There you go.
Yeah, no, I enjoy what I do. I like what I do. Also do, like I said, some occasional political work, editing work. But I thought it was just after what did it for me was the George Floyd riots back in 2020.
Explain.
The George Floyd riots, when George Floyd was killed by the Minneapolis police officers, a lot of people, expressed their displeasure. A lot of people peacefully protested, which was fine. We had the riots in downtown. The first day, I kind of gave the city a little bit of forgiveness on the first day, but the second day, it was just Katie barred the door. The people were just running crazy.
Here, you mean?
And
Here,
here
yeah.
in the Indianapolis area. So,
And people have been afraid to go downtown ever since.
yeah. And
Which hurts everybody downtown.
And Indianapolis already had an issue with crime issue that was out there. And it was just sort of, to me, it felt like there was a sense of malaise just hanging over the city of Indianapolis. If I could really carpe diem myself and go back 45 years when Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan ran for president, it's like the sense of malaise and just time for new leadership, just a new time. I like the mayor personally. He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
Get along fine. But I think if I could quote Dick Van Patten, 8 is enough.
Yeah, well, of course, we could take that nationally and talk about that too if we ever have time. So, what is your platform? I mean, you've obviously mentioned law and order,
yeah,
and you've mentioned potholes.
Yeah, basically 3 things. My platform is basically public safety, public works, and public trust. People have the right to live in the city that's safe, to be safe in their homes, to not have to worry about getting in the car and losing an axle because they're driving.
Yep.
Driving to work. And public trust is you trust the government to just leave you alone.
Leave you alone. That's interesting. So let's talk about public safety first, and let's talk about the violent aspect of it. So what do you do about a neighborhood that's just been overtaken by druggies and homeless and all of that? And we've got those pockets around Indianapolis. If you were mayor, how would you help get rid of what would you do with the homeless and so forth?
Well, one of my first parts of my platform has always been public safety, because public safety is in my opinion, job number 1.
Yep.
And when it comes to public safety, we have to be tough on crime, but we also have to be smart. On crime, I've always been a big sort of weed and seed kind of guy. Let's go in, sweep the area, get all the bad elements out of here, and then replace it with the positive elements. That's what the whole point of the weed and seed program. And I always tell people there's a difference between people we're mad at versus people we're afraid of. The people we're afraid of are your felony murderers, your drug dealers, those type of people who need to be put away and off the streets.
They do.
The people we're mad at, maybe another form of sentencing is in order.
Well, who are the people we're mad at?
I say like your low-level drug offenders.
Like the guy selling weed, you mean?
Yeah, just very low level, caught with a dime bag. And so my thing is this, as part of his probation, instead of sending him to jail, how about we send him to school? As part of his probation, to go get his degree, certificate, learn a trade, that sort of thing. And that would be basically what your probation is. Now,
who pays for that?
I'm glad you asked that question, because my wife asked me that exact same question. Like, aren't you giving criminals free education? Like, well, no, sweetie, not necessarily, because number 1, when you went to the University of Indianapolis to get your occupational therapist degree, if you didn't go to class, that was just on you. These guys don't go to class, you're violating your probation. That means you're going
to jail. Okay.
So that's kind of point number 1. Point number 2, if you think about how much it costs to incarcerate someone versus how much it costs to send them to school, I think
is it a break even?
Yeah, it's much cheaper to send someone to Ivy Tech
than to put them in jail.
Than keep them in jail for you.
That's a good answer.
And to me, that is how we get them on track. We also do things like work with the reentry community, expand our efforts there, because we want people to have jobs, to be successful. Also, with juvenile crime, one of the big things is what is there for kids to do between that 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock when mom is at work and they're home alone. The nice thing about being Generation X is we're all latchkey kids, so we know what to do when we were latchkey children. But my thing is this: let's put together the university community, the church community, and the business community. The churches will open their doors between 3 and 8. The universities will send students to mentor, tutor, give kids things to do, and then the business community can help fund it. And that's how you bring the community together in all neighborhoods to get things.
Are you about Charles Reverend Harrison, right?
Friend.
They would be part of this, obviously, right? They do good work.
Oh, they do really great work.
Yeah. I've had him on the show sometime in the past, and I love what they do. Okay, that's good. What else?
Like I said, it's bringing in like I said, the judges, the prosecutor, the sheriffs, the police department, and taking a look at doing an analysis of our public safety infrastructure, because obviously there's something wrong. And another thing I do is I bring back the public safety director.
We don't have one anymore?
No.
Oh, you weren't here when my dad's good friend Richard Blankenbaker was public safety director. We will talk about that off camera. That's a long time ago. You said something that sparked an interest in me, and my senioritis got the best of me. But this is a very, very interesting topic. What to do with the minor offender, if you will.
Yeah.
I know what it was. You mentioned the prosecutor, and of course we got this famous Gascon guy out in California and so on and so forth. How's the Indianapolis prosecutor as far as keeping the people that need to be kept in jail in jail?
Well, see, and that's the big questions out there, because I've known Ryan Mears since he got appointed. We're good friends, we get along fine. We don't necessarily agree on everything, but we get along well. I believe that, like I said, we just need to sit down and just talk to the prosecutor, talk to the judges, get the sheriff involved, IMPD, and the public safety director. Like, okay, guys, why are cops having to rearrest somebody 5 or 6?
And then after that they kill somebody.
Right.
Right.
That's why I'm a big believer. I know some folks with more progressive approach to criminal reform don't like things like 3 strikes you're out habitual offenders, but like there's some people who have just said, you know what, you need to just go away for a while.
A long while, in some cases, right? That's a toughie, but you're right. If the cops are arresting people and the prosecutor's letting them out.
Well, it's part of the prosecution. It's also part of the criminal justice infrastructure is what it is. So we need to figure out, why are so many people with so many repeat offenses being let back out again? Exactly.
That would be really important.
You also asked about how would I address the homeless issue.
Yeah. If the homeless are causing problems, it's fine if you move them out of there, but where they're going to go and so forth.
I always tell people there's a difference between homeless and panhandlers.
Amen. Those people that are standing at the interstate, they're panhandlers.
Yeah. The guy who stops me on Monument Circle says, "Hey, my family's stuck in a van on 465, and
he's a panhandler.
In Washington Street. I walked all the way over here to get some gas. Like, you walked all the way over here to get some gas. Like, you must really not like your family because you want to be away from them for so long." So there's a difference. I believe true homeless people it's a result of addiction, it's a result of mental illness,
and laziness. Sometimes.
And sometimes, yeah. But for the most part, for your true homeless, it's a mental illness problem, it's an addiction problem. So I like kind of what Eric Adams is looking at doing in New York City, which is, and it's going to sound cruel, but sometimes you got to be cruel to be kind, like the song goes. What he did was he civilly committed, like, majorly people with serious mental illnesses who were out on the street. Because number one, it got them in a facility where they could get help, where they could get treatment. Like, you know what? It may sound cruel, but maybe we should look at something like that here in Indianapolis, Marion County. And someone asked me the other day, well, so where would you put them? Like, you know what? How many abandoned buildings do we have in the city? And we're talking like sort of warehouse type abandoned.
Yeah. That type of, not houses.
Right, not houses.
But yeah.
Sort of abandoned industrial infrastructure. Like, surely we can come together, remodel, rehab for low entry barriers so we get these folks off the street and into the places that they need to be.
You mentioned the 3 to 8 thing, and so on and so forth. One of the things from one of my shows back, I talked to the Shepherd Center. You know the Shepherd Center, and I forget the guy's name, but he was talking about Howe High School, and the kids that went to the Shepherd Center were graduating from Howe High School in the 80-90% area versus Howe High School's overall graduation rate of abysmal 27% or whatever it was. That's part of that.
Yeah.
Right? What do they do during that time?
Right, exactly. It's getting your homework done, obviously. Getting your study done. Also having a mentor that you can talk to them about, hey, here's what's going on in my life, and having a good friend. So there are lots of organizations in the city of Indianapolis that get lots of funding to do these sorts of things. And that was the other thing I do. Was like, okay, let's take a step back here. We're not going to stop the funding. Let's get all these organizations. Let's see if we're getting our money's worth. Like, are we getting the results that we need?
Is it work? Like Shepherd Center, if that's correct, it's working.
Right.
Right? Right. Okay, so it's what you're talking about is a big job.
Yeah, it's funny because my wife, obviously I had several conversations with my wife, the lovely Mrs. Shabazz, before deciding to do this. And she's like, honey, why did you want to be mayor? All people do is just call and just complain and yell at you all day long. Like, sweetie, I'm a radio talk show host. They do that already.
Which, by the way, I'm glad you've brought up the lovely Mrs. Shabazz a couple of times. When were you guys married?
September 5th, 2009.
Okay, 2009. So you've been married, 13 years.
It'll be 14 years this year.
Yeah, cool.
Which
Great.
is funny because I don't recall my wife breaking 2 mirrors.
Well, tell her I said hello. The pothole thing. I mean, it costs money to fill potholes. The excuse is we don't have the money, I think, right? What in the world is going on with that?
Here's what I would do with potholes. Obviously, it's going to take some help from the legislature because there's a thing about lane miles versus traveled miles and how this road funding formula works with the legislature.
Yeah.
But one of the things I thought about doing, like I said, once again, it requires legislative approval, is create sort of road funding TIF districts. Because we're here at 46 and Keystone. There's a gas station just a couple blocks down the street. So what you do is you take a penny from every gas tax or sales tax on gasoline that's generated at that filling station and basically draw a circle, a mile circle, and use that penny for that that you collect from the gas or sales tax on gasoline. Use that to fill.
But you're stealing from the gas tax.
Well, we're taking from the gas section.
Right.
But it's for roads, infrastructure, potholes, and within that mile.
One would think that the gas tax would be for that already. One would think.
But this is actually dedicated.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like
you can't do anything else with it but fix the streets.
Right. Just like with TIF funding, just draw a circle. So all the potholes within a mile radius of that gas station, all the sidewalk repair, all the street repair, you have to really have that dedicated funding. If you think about it too, folks of economically challenged means actually have it worse than the rest of us because if they hit a pothole, their axle breaks.
They're dead.
How do they get to work?
They don't have
how do
any.
they get their kids to school?
Yep.
I mean, their livelihood is pretty much done and over with. So I think that's one of the things we click. Now, whether it's an additional 1 cent or whether it's allocated, we can have that discussion. But I would not mind paying 16 more cents every time I fill up to avoid having to pay $160 on a broken axle.
Got a good point there. And that happened. That has happened to me a couple of times over the last few years. And if it rains and you don't see the pothole, that's even worse. So, well, you just got a couple of more minutes. What else do you want to tell the folks about voting for Abdul for mayor? When is the election anyway?
The primary, I want to say, is May 2nd. It's the first Tuesday in May. Early voting starts next month in April.
Now, have you got an opponent in the primary?
There are 3 opponents in the Republican primary. There are 6 people running in the Democratic primary.
Now, how's that work? Is it majority or?
Plurality.
Plurality. Yeah. So if you only get 33%, but you got the most votes, you win.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So the primary is coming up in May.
Right.
So vote in the primary. Abdul says, I'm not saying this. Abdul says, vote in the primary. I live in Hamilton County anyway. Vote in the primary for Abdul.
I can't get your vote, but I'll take your money, so don't worry about it. That's always my running joke. You can go to Abdul4Indy.com, number 4. That's our website. We got our positions up there.
Great.
The whole 9 yards. People want to help us out. Whether you get a yard
volunteer,
sign,
work the polls, whatever.
Work the polls. You can do all that there at Abdul4Indy.com.
Abdul, good luck.
Hey, thank you, my friend. Always appreciate it. Always good to be here.
Good to see you. Next week, one of my other favorites in Indianapolis, Shane Ryder with the Indianapolis Indians. They're keeping the nickname Go Tribe. See you then.